This is Backstage Bay Area, your all-access pass to the local music scene.
This is Backstage Bay Area, and I'm Steve Roby. Today's guest is Grammy-nominated songwriter, multi-instrumentalist, and producer Becca Stevens, an artist whose work threads Appalachian folk roots, a deep feel for jazz, and chamber textures into a voice that's both agile and emotionally grounded. Her recent album, Maple to Paper, strips things down to a voice and guitar recorded live with no overdubs, reflecting on motherhood, grief, and transformation. Becca Stevens joins us now. Hey, Becca, greetings from San Francisco, and welcome to Backstage Bay Area.
Hi, Steve. Greetings from Princeton, and you have a wonderful radio voice.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I've done it a while.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm so glad you could be here. Let's start with your musical background and approach to jazz. For listeners meeting you for the first time, what early musical experience shaped your ear, and how did jazz become part of your language alongside folk and classical guitar?
I grew up in a very musical family that was listening to kind of odd, non-conventional styles of music. At a young age, we were cleaning the kitchen to Bothy Band and Frank Zappa and Bartok and all kinds of eclectic composers and bands and songwriters. And that was just normal to me as a kid. And we were also performing a lot, performing my dad's musicals and symphonies. He's a composer too. So classical guitar, I sort of stumbled into. I was looking for a reason to go to the local arts conservatory in North Carolina, where I'm from. And I was too young to join the theater program, and I didn't want to sing opera like my parents. And so I tried out in guitar, and the rest is history. And I'll say that jazz came along almost as a rebellion to the period of intense study of classical repertoire. Jazz was something that I escaped to in my car after class. You know, I'd sit in the car and just relish in what felt like at the time the total opposite of the world that I was in. And it felt like it was mine.
What were you listening to in the car?
Oh, gosh. Miles Davis, Nina Simone, Charles Mingus, Duke Ellington, Billy Strayhorn,
All the greats.
Ella Fitzgerald. I could go on and on and on and on.
Well, when you move between song form and improvisation, what guides your choices, and how do you decide when to lean into each?
I don't.
Okay.
For better or for worse, not thinking about genre when I write. If anything, I am finding myself pulled quite naturally in directions that then my critical mind is saying, is this okay? And then I have to kind of block it out and be like, this is where the song wants to pull me. The rest will come out in the wash. The reason why I say for better or for worse is that I think that, you know, as like someone who manages me or books me in, venues around the world, it's probably harder to package someone who's not fitting squarely into one genre. But it makes me very happy to feel free as a bird and to float wherever the song wants to take me.
And that's what jazz is all about, right?
That's true. Some people think that.
Let's talk about performing in intimate settings. You've written for everything from solo voice and guitar to strings and larger ensembles. Congratulations on that. What changes when you arrange for a duo or a small group?
It's a good question. When I'm writing for my bandmates or when I'm writing for a really intimate setting, I'm really thinking about the fullest potential of that person and what they can bring to the music in an authentic way. And I guess it's the same thing for large ensemble. It's just that there's, at least in my experience of writing for large ensemble, I have less of an intimate understanding of each person. Whereas if I'm writing for my band, I've known those people for 20 years. So I know I already can kind of hear what something's going to sound like. And it's almost like I should give them co-writing credits because I'm stealing things out of their brain.
When you talk about blending jazz, folk, and chamber music textures, what are some specific arranging moves you return to, like counter-melodies, open strings, and things like that?
Well, open strings is something that I use a lot when I'm writing on the guitar, and I attribute that more to the folk world, actually. These like open tunings where you're writing with shapes, like your shapes, I mean, like I'm looking at my left hand. I'm a right-handed guitar player, so the hand that's on the fretboard is finding these interesting shapes that ring in beautiful ways with the fretted notes as well as the ambient open strings are just creating this like gorgeous texture that is not what you hear if like you're playing in standard tuning with everything fretted or bar chords, things like that. And writing in this way leads you naturally without even thinking about it necessarily, which is kind of a cool thing for songwriters who are looking for a way to get to sort of energize their harmony. It naturally leads you into a harmonic direction that you could say is more jazz oriented because you're no longer in the major chord, root third, fifth, whatever.
Sure.
You all of a sudden you have like a sus and a sharp 11 and a flat 9 unintentionally, because it's just that this string is ambiently adding flavor, and the shapes that you knew and loved and were comfortable for your hand before now in an open tuning means something completely different.
I'm curious, why did you select the guitar for your instrument of choice?
When I was a kid, my parents signed me up for a lot of music lessons. I tried my hand at Suzuki violin when I was very young, and then I really took to the flute, but didn't stick with it. And then I was in piano lessons, and for some reason I hated piano lessons. I don't know if it was because I had to sit up straight on a bench or if it was the very black and white, no pun intended, approach to the instrument. Everything's just spelled out for you there. And you can't, I felt at a young age that like I wasn't able to bring my authenticity to those lessons. And I don't know if that was like the teacher that I had or the instrument itself. I often regret not sticking with the piano, to be honest. But as soon as I touched the guitar, I think because of the instrument and also because of how my father, who's a multi-instrumentalist as well, how he kind of ushered me into that instrument, it always felt like a playground to me and a place that was welcoming to my curiosity.
Interesting. Thanks for filling that in. Well, let's play some of your music now. The track I'm going to play is called Now Feels Bigger Than the Past. Interesting title. We'll jump into that on the other side of this song. But for right now, let's play it. Let's listen to Now Feels Bigger Than the Past by Becca Stevens. And you're listening to Backstage Bay Area.
What is it about an artist dying that makes the art more palatable? And those who never gave a listen, now quick to climb on board. And you who never knew the lyrics say, oh, I've always loved this one. And you who never spared a penny cried and cried like you lost your only friend. What is it about a traitor dying that makes the harm forgivable? Throw some dirt upon their grave and say they did their best. I guess it's only on me now for stepping in that mess. And all the pain you waded through, though then obliterated you, look sees you now, designed somehow to put you in the right light for the shit you're dealing with today, which looks so much bigger than the past. Imperfection is beautiful in retrospect. And great big flaws are charming when there's no one there to correct. What is it about a mother dying that makes the grief insatiable? As if the time in utero that grew your flesh and built your bones is tearing out your heart, 'cause it's rewinding now, unraveling your sense of who you are. And everything you sought from her is needed by your daughter. So you carry her to term, and with a little push, she falls out of the nest into the sky, which looks so much bigger than the past. Imperfection is beautiful once the hands are gone. And the farther we are from failure, the more we see its charm. Now feels bigger than the past. 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 Now feels bigger than the past.
This is Backstage Bay Area, and my guest today is Becca Stevens. We just heard Now Feels Bigger Than the Past, and we're going to dive deep into that song right now. Becca, the song's title suggests a recalibration of time and perspective. What moment sparked this song, and how did you translate that feeling on guitar?
This is one of these songs where the seed of it, the initial inspiration came much earlier than the bulk of the writing. So back in, 2017, when did Prince pass away? I'm drawing a blank on the year, but I think
me
was
too,
around that time.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah.
I was grieving that he died and also feeling confused about this effect of like someone is fighting to be supported in a certain way from their fan base for their whole life, and then it takes them dying for the, like an outpouring of love and support on social media, and the streams go up, and suddenly people were a fan their whole life when they couldn't before name a single song, and I think I was just, I don't know, ruminating on that aspect of how, hindsight gives the person what they needed that wasn't there when they were alive, And then I thought when I had this, what is it about an artist dying that makes the art more palatable? I had that idea, that seed just written on a sheet of paper and stuck to my wall for 3 years. I think I even moved apartments with it. And then when I was writing the music for Maple to Paper, I was thinking about my mom, who had been diagnosed with terminal cancer, breast cancer, and I was thinking, well, wouldn't that be an interesting place to land in, like in a graceful way, if I could take this idea of hindsight completely transforming your experience in something if I can take you through a few verses and land there in some kind of graceful way. So my attempt was, the first verse is about an artist dying. It makes you see the art differently after they're gone. And then the second verse is, what is it about a traitor dying that makes the harm forgivable? And, suddenly all these things that made you suffer and frustrated and impossible, the person's gone and you're like, oh, yeah, that wasn't so bad. And then third verse is for my mom and also for my daughter who was in my belly at the time.
Sure. Wow. It sounds like you could almost develop that thesis into a book. I mean, that's such a heavy thought process of
Well, I guess you could say the book is maple to paper.
Okay, the audio book. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
So talk about the production of that song. It sounds as if it was recorded in the listener's space. What production or mic choices help you keep that close at hand presence in the song?
Well, I have my camera on only for you, and you can see I just pulled my mic down from.
What you got there?
This is a Lauten audio microphone, and this is the LS208, and I used two of these, and I was here in this room, although it was treated a little better when I was making the record in here. I had blankets nailed to the walls and hanging on, mic stands behind me. And there was a lot of stuff in here to make it a little less ringy. But I was here in this room by myself for many, many months with two Lauten audio microphones, one pointed at the guitar, one pointed at the voice, performed together live, which created some issues that we had to figure out later on with like phasing between the microphones and stuff like that. But we decided in the beginning that was worth it because, we tried some where I was performing the guitar first and then overdubbing the voice. And I send that to Nick Hard, who did the mixing. And we both agreed that there was just an intensity and a character that came through when I was playing the songs live that was necessary for this record.
Interesting. It really sounds good too, by the way.
Oh, well, we can thank Nick for Hard for that.
Let's play another track of yours. This next one I'm going to play is called I'm Not Her. And we'll jump into it after I play the song. I've got a bunch of questions about it, but let's listen to it now. This is Becca Stevens doing I'm Not Her, and you're listening to Backstage Bay Area.
I'm not her, and I don't want to be naked in some jungle for the world to see. I'm not her, unabashedly sexhibitionistic for the voyeuristic. But I like to watch the sexy Aussie influencer sensually censor, so the clever algorithms never the wiser, while she does her laundry in a sacred jungle geyser, 'cause she, quote, lives off the earth. I'm not her, nearly pornicating for the camera, pretending that it's not there. I can safely say I'll never spend an afternoon posing with exotic fruit in a suggestive way. But I like to watch the sexy Aussie influencer sensually censor, even when she wakes up, perfect hair and makeup, nude behind a breakfast of yonic fresh papaya, where she, quote, lives in a yurt. I'm not her. Sometimes it's kinda hard to see you doing so well, and a little voice inside me doesn't mind when you fail, and then resents you for showing me this part of myself that's addicted to hating on you, addicted to hating on you, and everything you do just to pass the time. second photogenically. I'm not her. I can't afford to be relishing in beauty that only the rich can reach. But I like to watch the sexy model influencer drink her vegan dinner while the filter on her picture makes her even thinner. Sponsored by bikinis that pair with pink martinis, and she, quote, just loves her work. I'm not her. Sometimes it's kind of hard to see you doing so well, and a little voice inside me doesn't mind when you fail, and then resents you for showing me this part of myself that's addicted to hating on you, addicted to hating on you and everything you do, just to pass the time.
This is Backstage Bay Area. I'm Steve Roby, and my guest today is Becca Stevens. We're diving deep into a couple of her songs today on today's show, and she joins me now. Let me ask you about this song. Lyrically, this song draws a firm boundary around self-definition. How did the lyric and melodic contour evolve? Did the words lead, or did guitar shapes pull the story forward?
I love that question. It's multi-pronged. The ideas and words came first. I was trying to take a page out of my own songwriting teacher book, where students come to me with an issue of like, I know that I need to be doing this thing or working on this thing, but I just don't want to, and I would rather be doing this other thing. And so I say, okay, can we create some kind of bridge between those two things? So an example is, I really need to work on, like, I struggle with lyric writing, but I really all I want to be doing right now is scrolling on Instagram, So then feed the urge of the thing that you want to be doing, and then create a bridge back to the thing that you ought to be doing. So each thing you see on Instagram that you feel is lyric worthy or interesting or inspiring, or even just would create kind of a fun concept, you bring it over to the other document. Maybe you have it be like a jar, figuratively, that catches all these things. It can be really like kind of free flowing, like you just move things over as they inspire you.
Right.
And then make a game to create this bridge. Make a game, cut them up. You could print it out and literally do it with scissors and move them around the floor like lyrics or puzzle pieces. Stick them to your wall. If you could see me now, I'd move my computer so you could see my wall. It's covered in paper. Puzzle pieces from maple to paper. And there's like a million ways that you can create that inspiration from the thing you want to be doing, whether it's going for a walk or cooking a big soup or, hanging out with your dog.
Yeah.
So I'm Not Her started that way. I was depressed and scrolling through Instagram and comparing myself to other women influencers. And I was, first, the document initially was I think 10 different women, and I narrowed it down to 2, and then tried to really milk the dark, twisted, cynical sense of humor that doesn't often come through in my songs. And then the guitar definitely, as you were asking, it definitely drove the melody. Once the guitar came in, it was like the lyrics came first and then the guitar came in, and then they were working together and driving in the front seat together for sure.
Nice. It sounds good. Well, let's transition here and talk about motherhood, which is very near and dear to you. You've been vocal about the barriers that touring mothers face, logistics, expectations, assumptions. What are the most concrete obstacles you've encountered on the road?
Money.
That's universal. Yeah.
Time and money and energy. It's not the same as it was. You have children, and then you want to be with them. And then if you can't be with them, you have to pay to not be with them.
Mm-hmm.
And if you are with them on the road, then you're paying physically for what that the toll that takes on the body, and it takes on their bodies too.
Sure.
So it's really like, what's the lesser of all these evils, and is it worth it to me to keep my career fire burning while also taking good care of these little humans? And if the answer is yes, then each person has to figure out what that looks like for them in the context of their career, because, somebody who's touring 9 months of the year on a tour bus, their solutions are going to look different than someone who's unmanaged and is throwing everything together, renting a van for 2 weeks. Like, it's just a completely different scenario.
Sure.
So something I'm passionate about and always open to talking, particularly to other moms who are in the music industry, is like, what are your struggles, and what kind of solutions can we find for you to make this just a little easier and to give you a sense of camaraderie, because that first year, especially of having a little baby, is the loneliest year of your life. I mean, it is like the hormones and the sleep deprivation and the feeling that the world just doesn't get it. And then on top of that, having your identity of the artist that you were before gets inevitably stripped away. And then you look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself. It's like the process changes how you look, and you also don't recognize, because like this fire is kind of gone. And so connecting those dots back together is something that I'm really passionate about talking about, because I've been through it twice.
Sure.
And I want to help,
Wow. Have you seen any changes at any of the venues that you've been touring with regarding this?
A little.
Okay.
Yeah, a little.
Still got a ways to go.
We got a ways to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's make a happy transition. He said cleverly. And talk about your upcoming shows in San Francisco at the Joe Henderson Lab. Is this your debut there?
It is.
All right. You're going to love it.
Oh, thank you. And I'm saying that like I know this to be true, but I could totally be wrong. And someone might be listening to this interview and be like, actually you played here 10 years ago or something. I just don't remember names of things. So
have they told you about the room?
No.
Well, if you go on BackstageBayArea.com, you can see some photos that I've taken of artists performing there. There are two sides of the room that are like ceiling to floor glass. Ooh. And along the side of the stage there and the audience is a busy one-way traffic. San Francisco always going 24 hours. And it kind of adds to the energy of the room. For example, last week, a fire engine with its rotating red lights came through, and there's a jazz performance up there. And it just seemed like, this is part of the light show for the group. So there's a good, strong energy in that room. But on the other hand, it's very intimate. The sound acoustics are great. And the shows that I've been to, about 100 people fill the room, and they really are up close in front with you. So you get their energy, and they love it when you give it back. Sorry, I took a side turn there, but I just thought you should know that.
You're getting me really excited to play there. It sounds like my favorite kind of room, where you get, like 100 folks close to you. You're feeling their energy. You can see them. That's my vibe.
But it's not just four walls and, some overhead lights on you.
Yeah.
It's that city energy that I love, and I think adds to a performance. But anyway, back to you. Who's joining you on stage for these shows, and what instruments or textures will they bring?
I'll be solo for this one. So okay. just like what you hear on the record, on Maple to Paper, playing guitar on all of those songs. It's a Taylor, like parlor-sized 812 CE, and I have like flat wound strings on there, sort of like a coated flat wound string. So it has this really warm kind of wooden tone, just like on the record. And then on some of my older songs, I'll play a little bit of ukulele and maybe a charango if I can get my hands on one.
All right. That sounds good. Are you going to vary the set list for the two shows?
Oh, that's a very good question, Steve.
Just
Do you think
to encourage people to stick around or buy a ticket for the later show?
then I guess I should.
Okay.
Do people do that sometimes?
Oh,
Come to
yeah.
both?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, there's across the hall, there's minor auditorium, and so there's people lining up to see a headliner there. But then, people go, what's going on in this other room? So,
Yeah.
there's that opportunity there. Since the Joe Henderson Lab the acoustics are different than the larger auditorium, are you going to play any songs that feel made for that space?
I think Maple to Paper was made for that space.
Okay.
Because it's like a bedroom album, It's super vulnerable, naked, up close. And it works in a hall. It's glorious, but I think it's really meant for to feel like it's being kind of whispered or screamed into your ear.
Well, I hope you certainly explore some of I know you won't have the time on stage, but you really opened up today and shared some of the backstories for your songs there. And I'm sure that'll come across at the shows too.
Oh, don't you worry. I love to talk between songs, especially because almost every song is in a different tuning. So I'll end up tuning as quickly as I can, and then fine tuning while I go blah, 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 blah. And then I'll play the strings and go, oh, no, more fine tuning, blah, 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 blah. And something about the process of tuning while I talk really removes my social inhibitions, and I end up telling very personal stories about the songs because I'm not really focused on what I'm saying. I'm looking at the strings. So don't worry.
Well, that's enticing for people to pick up tickets for the show. Speaking of which, let me remind our listeners that Becca Stevens is playing the Joe Henderson Lab at the SF Jazz Center in downtown San Francisco, Tuesday, October 14th and Wednesday, October 15th. 4 shows, 2 nightly. Boy, you're going to be busy. Show times are 7 p.m. and 8:30 p.m. Tickets are available right now at sfjazz.org. And be sure to stop by Becca's official website for more info and tour dates. There'll be links in the show description for this podcast. Becca, thank you so much for joining us today. I really enjoyed the conversation.
I've enjoyed it so much too, Steve. Thank you. And now I'm going to go buy my plane ticket.
Okay. Safe travels, and we'll see you in San Francisco.
See you soon.
Hey musicians, would you like to be a guest on Backstage Bay Area? Just email the host and let him know when you'll be playing in the Bay Area. The address is backstage.sfbay@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
My guest today has been Becca Stevens. We talked songwriting and intimate settings, blending jazz, folk, chamber colors, played 2 new songs, and building a better support for touring mothers. Thanks for listening to Backstage Bay Area. I'm Steve Roby, and we'll see you on the next episode.